Episode 2 of Business Proposal begins with Harai getting into Taemu's car as she tries to avoid Minwoo. She again refuses his proposal, but he insists that he'll marry her anyway. She insults him by saying she could never marry someone who looks like an Archaeopteryx. This offends him more than anything else she's said to him so far. At work the next day, Harai notices her co-worker Hyejai getting a call from Minwoo. When Hyejai goes out to meet him, Harai follows. She spies on them and sees Minwoo give her co-worker a gift. On her way back to her office, Harai runs into Taemu. She immediately turns around and runs, but she trips and falls. This causes her shoe to fly off her foot and hit Taemu in the face. She runs off without her shoe, and he chases after her. When he catches her, he takes notice of her name badge, but doesn't see her face. He gives her shoe back and commends her on the work she's been doing. In her office, she finds out from Hyejai that Minwoo was simply returning a gift she had given him. He said he was uncomfortable with the gesture. Later that night, Young Seo meets with Taemu to clear up whom she actually is. First, she bumps into Sung Hoon and gives him her card. Young Seo tells Taemu that she hired someone to impersonate her, but Taemu suspects that the impersonator was a friend of hers. He has a peculiar reaction to her story. He's more angry at the fake Young Seo than the real one, and he wants to see the woman from his blind date before he calls off the marriage proposal. Young Seo agrees to set up a meeting. So, Young Seo dresses up Harai in her clothes and wig right before telling her Taemu would be showing up. She insists that all he wants is an apology. Taemu arrives and picks up a coupon from Harai's family's shop that she dropped on the ground. She admits to him that her family owns a chicken restaurant, but she lies to him about her name. Shin Junwei. She says the first name that pops into her head. And it turns out to be the name of a character in a TV drama who works in a chicken shop and falls in love with a rich man just a little too on the nose. Taemu is angry at her deception and the way she insulted his appearance. She says she'll do him a favor to make up for everything. In response, he puts his number in her phone and insists she pick up anytime he calls. Taemu informs his grandfather that he and Young Seo broke up. As a result, he must go on a long string of dates with other eligible women. But all of them bore him. When Dagu says that the dates won't stop until his grandson chooses a wife, Taemu blurts out that he and Young Seo got back together. He calls Harai to propose that they pretend to date. He offers her 1.6 million won for each time she meets his grandfather, while impersonating Young Seo. She doesn't immediately accept, but she's tempted, as she has a lot of debt. Minwoo later calls her to ask why she hasn't stopped by lately. She promises she'll be by to see him soon. That night, Harai gets a call from Taemu, who is outside her house. She makes herself up to go down and meet him. He gives her a fake dating contract he's drafted and a profile of himself, which he tells her to memorize. She thinks his idea is crazy and runs out of his car. He goes after her. Just then, she catches sight of Minwoo walking up to the shop. Ducking from his sight, she knocks over Taemu and collapses on top. Similarly to episode 1, this installment slowly draws out the narrative. The flashback to Harai's and Young Seo's drunken night is just one example of an entirely unnecessary scene to the plot. The episodes could stand to cut such distractions in favor of introducing completely new subplots. Currently, the chemistry between Harai and Taemu presents as disdain on both ends, which makes for some amusing moments, and should lead to some fun romantic tension. If anything is going to keep me from rooting for the couple, however, it's going to be Taemu's prideful and overbearing nature. Just as zany and light-hearted as episode 1, there's also some spot on comedic timing in this episode, particularly from Kim Min Kai. His character arrests the screen despite his limited appearances. I'm intrigued to see how Taemu and Harai handle a dating contract that seems none too bright. How does Taemu plan on keeping Young Seo Junwei Harai's identity a secret if they ever end up meeting with the real Young Seo's father, Chairman Jin? Hopefully, we'll see how they deal with such a situation in future episodes.